Welcome to the Landmark Theater's Q&A podcast. In this podcast, you will hear a discussion with director-co-writer Sean Baker and co-writer Chris Bergoch from the film Tangerine, moderated by film critic James Rocchi, recorded at the Landmark West LA.
I was talking to a critic friend of mine who is much smarter than I am, and they said one of the things they loved about your film was that it was so neighborhood specific, and they spoke about it how the way that people watch Taxi Driver to see pre-Giuliani New York, people are going to watch Tangerine to see what that neighborhood was like before it was turned into Jimmy John's sandwich shops and expensive condos. I mean, did you feel like you were just capturing that moment before the gentrification bomb completely obliterated that neighborhood?
Well, it is on the tail end. It's already across the street. There's a Walgreens where there was once another fast food shop, which was the other hangout across from Donut Time. But yes, and that's nice to hear because I know that Scorsese has said that Taxi Driver was geographically accurate, and we tried to do the same thing with this film. We only have one cheat, which we won't reveal, but we always looked at it as a if their journey could be mapped out, that it would actually be accurate.
And was that like one of the pleasures for you of just getting that moment in time?
Oh yeah, it's funny you mentioned Taxi Driver. Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, the original is for me like you see New York in a way that's just so not way anymore.
The Walter Matthau one, where the city is the most important character in it.
That's very good point. Yeah. So that's really cool to think like maybe in 20 years you'll see an LA that doesn't exist anymore. Well, it's not cool that it's going to happen, but it's cool that we captured it, I guess.
It's cool there's a record before the devastation. The devastation, not cool.
Two questions. One is on the acting and the casting. Can you tell us who were professionals who had previous acting experience and who were others that you discovered? And then the second question, with the iPhone, how were you able to handle the recording of the sound?
I'll answer the second one first. The sound recording was done the normal way, professionally. We had Iron Strauss, who is a location sound recorder who I've worked with before. He's a wonderful guy, recording it separately, digitally, and then syncing all of it in post. So if you saw us on Santa Monica shooting from across the street, the biggest giveaway that we were actually a production would be the fact that sometimes we had a boom pole, sometimes we had a sound cart. So the first question, Maya and Kiki both come from backgrounds in which, they're aspiring actors and now obviously full-fledged actors. Kiki actually studied drama in high school, but this is the first time both of them have been in front of the camera. James Ranson is a very seasoned actor, as you know. He's been on The Wire. He was in my previous film, Starlet, Generation Kill. Karan Karagulian, this is now the fifth time I've worked with him. He plays Razmik in the film. He's now quite a seasoned actor. And then let's see, there are lots of first-timers sprinkled in there. A lot of the supporting cast. There are a lot of adult film stars actually in the film. Anna Fox, this is her first mainstream film, and she's the woman who gets kicked out of the cab when Razmik finds out. And then let's see, there's Clu Gulager.
Yeah, Clu Gulager, who's a Hollywood legend, is the old fella in the cab. And you've seen a lot that he's been in if you look at his IMDb page.
Right. And then most importantly, in terms of just, it's not most importantly, but I was very lucky to have worked with this amazing Armenian cast because they're all celebrities over there, and they're very. Arsen Gregorian, who plays the other cab driver who rats him out, he actually hosts The Voice in Armenia. Ala Tamoyan is a classic. She's the Sophia Loren of Armenia. So it's really mixing and matching. That's what I love to do with all of my films, So that's the difference with this film, though, is that we didn't have the money for a casting director. So this time we had to just, look for people we've worked with before, or we tried casting in many different ways. We actually cast through Vine, YouTube, Instagram, trying to find new, fresh ways to cast.
And going back to kind of both what you said, and thanks for the compliment, is that when I notice on the set, when Sean mixes it up like that, the first timers in front of the camera, when they go up against seasoned vets, they both rub off on each other in a very interesting way. And I think that they influence each other to make sort of a really interesting scene.
Yes, I think they were answered in the credits, but did you guys use an app at all on the phone?
Yes.
Or any handheld device other than holding the phone?
No, you can't just handhold an iPhone. The lens is so small that no matter how stable you might think you are, the human hand shakes, and you will see that on the big screen. It's not attractive. So we had a little Steadicam that's actually made for the iPhone. It's about 8 inches tall, and it's just a grip basically, but it stabilizes it. And this app called Filmic Pro, which basically locks the phone at 24 frames a second, has all these other bells and whistles, and the compression rate is a higher quality, so it actually ups the quality of the video on the phone. And that, in conjunction with the anamorphic adapter, which allowed us to shoot in true scope, those were like the three tools that sort of sold me on making this on the iPhone, because we were all very reluctant about working on the iPhone. This is my fifth feature, and Radium, who co-shot this film, he's an amazing cinematographer. He just came from the Americans shooting 35 millimeter, and to come out and shoot on the iPhone didn't feel so hot. So, but we all, So I'm sorry. No, the phone was our monitor.
But you were also explaining last night that not only was a phone their monitor, but because the anamorphic adapter would make a scope image and fit it onto the iPhone screen, every time you went back to look at shots, everybody would be tall and thin, and it would be completely distorted. I don't know why that's the universal sign for tall and thin, but it is. So really, it's a substantive achievement.
Yeah, I had a question about the budget. If I could ask about the money, did that come from the Duplass brothers, or did you have to put up any of that?
No. The Duplass brothers, they actually they were the financiers, along with their the Through Films, Marcus and Carrie Cox of Through Films. The two of them together put up the money, and they're extremely supportive, wonderful, hands-off producers. Incredible, where they basically just gave us notes during post-production, and incredibly just supportive. They were the only ones offering us any money after our previous film. The industry is really broken right now, and it's always very difficult to find financing. And Mark and Jay Duplass are just like these wonderful, very supportive, independent film producers now.
Yeah, you've talked a little bit about how we had to really embrace the iPhone aesthetic, and for the budgetary reasons why we had to use the iPhone, because it did at first feel like a step back a little bit from Starlit, since it was a little bit, it's half the budget of that one. But yeah, I guess that we made it work for us.
The great irony is there's another film backed by the Duplasses in the same multiplex, The Overnight, so please keep subscribing to HBO so the Duplasses can turn that money into great independent films.
I was just wondering, I actually very familiar with that whole area. I got to, hang out at the arena, and I knew all about that 7-Eleven and all of that stuff during the mid-90s. But I also know that subculture is very protective of their stories and their characters. And I'm just wondering, who inspired you to tap into the subculture, and how you got to tap into the subculture, because that is not an easy task.
Sure. I made a previous film called Prince of Broadway, and it was done very similarly, where I was not from that world, but in order to do it right, and being a cisgender white male from outside of that world, we, and Chris being one as well, we decided that we didn't want to walk into their world and impose any sort of script or plot. It was the only respectful and responsible way of doing it was to find a collaborator, and that was Maya Taylor. Eventually, after spending time in the area, introducing ourselves to people, trying to find this collaborator, we eventually came across Maya at the LGBT Center on McCadden, and it was just that moment where you see somebody and you connect, and the next thing you know, we're hanging out on a regular basis, hearing stories and anecdotes. And she was introducing us to the whole neighborhood. They would come by and sit down at the local Jack in the Box on Fountain, and we spent several months. I mean, this whole research process was approximately 8 months, and we
It was through Maya that we met Kiki.
Right.
They were friends, and she introduced us. And when we saw the two of them together, there was such a contrast, that it was like this dynamic duo, and we just felt like we really had something there.
So we said, let's go ahead and write a story in which there are two leads. We're going to apply the theme of friendship to this, and you two will play the leads. And then it was just us about trying to find the story. And it was Kiki about 2 weeks down the line who said, I think I got something for you. And she brought up this story of this mission to find this quote-unquote fish. And we were like, excuse me, can you define that? And but she told...
then they were good enough to define it.
Yes.
Yeah, and your horizons were opened.
Exactly,
yeah.
Yes. And so basically, Chris and I saw that as a very layered story that would take our characters on a journey, we set out. We wrote a scriptment, half a script, half a treatment, or approximately 70 pages long, and included them all the time. It was always about whether they would approve it or not. It was very important. Every step, including post-production, in which Kiki would come in and watch my cut and give me notes. So it was a very collaborative. We couldn't have made this film without these two wonderful women.
Maya says hello. She's sorry she couldn't be here. I think that's probably why she did greet us with such open arms, that she saw how collaborative you were willing to be.
The rest of the cast is everybody's in New York right now, and they all say hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, word of mouth is life's blood for a film like this, and if you enjoyed it, please inform as many human beings as you can. And also, again, one last round of applause for Mr. Sean Baker.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting independent film on opening weekend.